Hi, I'm Dana, and today I want to talk about autistic self-awareness because it's something I get quite a lot in comments, and it's one of those things that I've heard so often throughout my life. I was so often told by teachers and school counsellors and therapists, wow, you're so self-aware. And it's a quite recent realisation for me that I really don't think I am. Like, I went with it and I was like, yeah, I'm really self-aware, but I don't know how to fix anything. I don't know what to do about anything. Like, great that I know the problem. I'm a super self-aware person over here. What do I do about anything? What? And to be honest with you, I think it's much more so that I'm a very reflective person. I do a lot of looking back and reflecting on situations and my own behaviour and other people's behaviour and trying to figure out situations and just trying to be aware of what's gone on. And in doing so, I try, like, obviously no one can have a fully subjective point of view. Is objective? Every story, every situation has two sides of both people involved. I'm never ever going to be able to actually see it from the other person's side and their point of view. But I try very, very hard to put myself in their shoes and view my behaviour from their point of view and just to reflect and to be aware of what I've done and who I am as a person, the way that I react to things, and be able to reflect on things and grow. You know, you need to learn, you need to experience things, and then you grow from those things. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm also very, very good at intellectualizing everything, and you know, I want to understand, I desperately want to understand where situations have gone wrong, where I've gone wrong. I want to know what's gone on because I don't feel like I'm processing anything in the moment. It takes me an extremely long time to feel like I've processed anything or understand anything. So I do a lot of reflecting and a lot of intellectualizing so that I'm able to put words to my experiences and put words to the things that I feel and the ways that I am, and be able to explain to people and be able to explain myself. Like, so much of my videos is explaining myself, and it's not in a like, I need to explain myself kind of way. It's figuring myself out and having that understanding of myself and wanting to try and help out other people that are trying to do the same thing, you know? So being able to explain things and being able to just be like, I did this fucked up thing, I fucked up in this way, I did this thing wrong, I screwed up this social interaction, I did this. Like, that's something that I don't think a lot of therapists are used to hearing. In my experience, or at least the therapists I've been to, they're quite surprised when I'm able to like own up to making mistakes, and when I'm able to recognise like my autism and me being autistic meant that I didn't do socially correct things in these situations. A lot of the time, like, there's very few situations where I entirely blame the other person. I might think they're a shitty person, or, you know, some people straight up were abusive to me. It doesn't change the fact that I didn't always react in like the perfect ways, and I don't have to. I'm a person. Nobody's ever going to react in all the perfect ways. But things like that, again, I think of why people are like, wow, you're so self-aware. I'm like, no, I don't want to say I've overthought everything, because I think that overthinking has an extremely negative connotation, and I think that I am reflecting on things in a way that is necessary for me as an autistic person who doesn't really have the opportunity of processing things in the moment. When I'm experiencing life, when I'm in a social interaction, when I'm going through life and experiencing things and having things happen to me, I'm trying to just process what I am supposed to do in reaction to it all in the moment. It is way later that I'm thinking of the situation as a whole and thinking of anything outside of how I reacted and how I behaved. And I think that is largely because of masking. Like, I had to be self-aware in order to know what I needed to change about myself to try and fit in. My self-awareness case is entirely to not embarrassing myself, to containing myself, to keeping myself back, so that I don't come across as someone who isn't self-aware. And honestly, like, I've just tried to film this bit like several times. I'm struggling to find the right words to not sound dodgy, but I think that is also one of like the larger differences I've personally experienced between being like a more medium supports needs person versus like the lower supports needs people, is that they're able to mask in a way where they're able to mask, essentially. Whereas even when I've been masking heavily and trying so fucking hard and using all of this self-awareness to try and blend in and belong and be like everybody else, it does not work for me. Like, I'm still the person that's done something weird, done something too loud, missed the social cue, said the thing that makes the whole room go quiet. Like, I can't fucking mask. Like, even when I am masking my absolute hardest, it's not working for me. And the vast majority of my like most embarrassing moments looking back are things where I'm like, I wish I'd had more self-awareness in that moment. I wish I'd been more self-aware, because when I mask, I'm not being myself. I don't know who the fuck I am. I'm just reacting in whatever way I need to do in the moment. And I don't feel like I have any awareness of how I am coming across to other people is a major, major thing for me. Like, I think that self-perception, if that's a fucking thing, and self-awareness massively like go hand in hand. And having such a massively limited self-perception means that I hold myself back from a hell of a lot of things, and I'm able to come across as more self-aware than I really am, purely because I'm not acting like myself. I'm not behaving like myself. Like, it's not that I'm self-aware, it's that I'm aware that the self that I am is not socially appropriate. And I've had many, many, many experiences in my 28 years of life that means that I've learned which things to shut down and which things to put out there, and I've altered and changed the mask that I use. And I'm always going to mask to some degree, and I think that there's a very healthy level to which I'm able to do so sometimes. If I'm in the right like environment with the right people, I'm able to mask in a way where I feel like I'm being the best version of myself. I'm putting my best foot forward kind of thing, and I feel like I'm being myself, but just the best version of myself, which I think is the mask that everybody uses when going out and like being with friends and things like that. I think that's a perfectly healthy, normal thing to do, and that it isn't necessarily like tied into my autism masking, because I'm not trying to hide autistic traits. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. Whereas a lot of other situations, I'm trying to hide who the fuck I am. I'm trying to hide everything about myself. The mask is very much trying to be normal person, be self-aware, be this, be that. And it's so difficult, and it doesn't feel like it's particularly within my control. And it does feel like it's less self-awareness and more just turning things off and not being myself. And it's especially disappointing that I've heard it so many times from therapists and from like medical professionals, because they were the people that at the time I was going in and telling them like, oh yeah, I had a perfectly nice childhood. I don't know why I have all these problems and feel like I'm such like a messed up mentally person, because I had a really good childhood. My parents were really supportive. I everything's been great and fine. I'm just a messed up person for no apparent reason. And then they'd ask me things about my family, and I'd go into depth and I'd explain things to them that I now know are emotionally abusive. And they just were like, oh wow, you're so self-aware about these situations. And I do wonder if they thought that I was telling them these things as like, these were the bad parts of my childhood. Like, I had this self-awareness and this awareness of my past and like this ability to reflect and process things that meant that I knew that that was trauma and that was abuse and that was a bad thing, and that was why I was telling them. When I was telling them thinking like, this is a tale of my perfectly normal, ordinary childhood that everybody went through in the way that it was for everyone, and it's not a remotely traumatic or like abusive thing at all. Like, I think the double empathy problem has come into play as an issue in that type of situation a lot for me, and especially with, I've just not long posted a video. The last video I posted before this was a video about the abuse sort of behaviour and tactics of my mother, and that's a video that I posted thinking like, you know, it's not happy, it's not upbeat, it's not fun, it's I'm calling it abuse. I know what it is. I've given a trigger warning. Like, I know it's not a nice happy topic, don't get me wrong, but having people who like regularly consume my content and leave like engaging comments, having those people be like, oh, this is actually a bit rough for me, I'm not watching this one. Like, first of all, thank you. I'm very glad you're looking after yourself and not engaging with content that you think will be damaging to you. That's why I included the trigger warnings. I don't want you to engage with any sort of content that you don't think is going to have a positive influence on your life. So like, good, thank you for not watching something you think would have been negative for you. But also, like, the people that did watch it and have been like, wow, this is really fucked up, I'm like, that's the stuff that I consider to be like sort of micro abuse. Like, that's the stuff that was just happening all the time. I genuinely like didn't see, like, it's abuse. I'm not saying it's not that bad, but also I didn't think it was that bad, you know? Like, I wasn't posting it as like a like, here's the worst things my mother ever did. Like, that was common behaviour from my mother. That was just how she was. And that's where reflecting on past like friendships and relationships as well, there's times when like people were sharing their traumas with me and sharing like their childhood and things like that, and I would share things that I thought in the moment was similar to theirs, and they would be like, this isn't like the fucking trauma Olympics day, you know, like, you don't need to like one up me. And I would be so confused because I didn't think that I was sharing something that was as bad as their trauma. I thought I was giving something that's like, here's a similar enough thing to explain to you that like, I know how you feel, I've been in a similar situation, without it being a one-up. Like, I genuinely didn't think it was that bad. I didn't have the self-awareness of it being that bad. But looking back now and being like, I don't think I am as self-aware as I've been told and as I've thought I am, I'm like, yo, like, I think there's a very, very good chance that they were telling me something that was like not to like rank anybody's trauma, but what they were considering as like low level trauma, and then I was coming out with something that they considered to be much higher level because I simply did not fucking know. And it will have seemed like, you know, like, I do think intentions are important, don't get me wrong, but also you can't see what someone's intentions are every single fucking moment of every day. You don't know what's going on in their brain. So I can very much see now how that would have seemed to people as though I was really trying to one-up them and really trying to be like, oh, you had that happen, well, I had this thing happen. And it wasn't my intention. It's not at all what I thought was happening in the moment, but I absolutely see how that would be the case now looking back. And that's been a major fucking struggle for me. Like a huge part of why I've started talking more about like my familial abuse in YouTube videos is because it's one of the things that I never know when it's appropriate to talk about in real life. Like even when friends have given me the opening and the opportunity and been like, you can talk to me about that, I don't know where to fucking start. I don't know what's too far. I don't know what's too much. I don't know what reaction I want, you know, like being able to just post it online. And like if you want to comment, you can, but you don't have to. That works much better for me because I don't necessarily want a reaction specifically for me, you know, like I feel better when I talk about it. I feel like I can unpack it more and I understand it more, and I you know, like it's helpful. I do also very much appreciate having outside views on it because it leads me to learning and having further thoughts like this. And you know, like I wouldn't be unpacking this in the way that I am now had I not posted those videos and had those reactions. And I really appreciate that and think it's a really healthy thing for me. But I do also think I perhaps just like entirely lack the self-awareness that's required to be able to discuss traumas and to be able to discuss abuse and like to have certain types of conversations with people in real life, quite frankly. Like I say that, but I have had friends where we were both very open and honest with each other in the fact of like, I haven't got a fucking clue. I've been through these things and I know they weren't nice, I know they were bad. And when we talk about it, we can just talk about it, you know, like there's no like, that I could tell them something like, I could tell them the absolute worst trauma I've ever been through, and they would tell me something that's like similar enough to show that they also understand, and it would just be a back and forth, and it's just a conversation about it. And I do really appreciate having had those people and had those conversations, but there was still a lot of things that I was holding back because I don't know if it's the right thing to say, you know? And that's where like, even with friends, I do sort of dread like taboo topics coming up because I don't have the self-awareness of knowing when it's become TMI and when I'm telling people too much and when I'm making people uncomfortable. Like I don't know. And beyond that, I think that self-awareness also encompasses emotional awareness, and that's something that I feel like I lack massively just in general. But especially in the moment, when things are happening and I'm going through things and when life's happening to me, I do not know how I feel about it. And it makes it extremely fucking difficult to react, and it's led me to a lot of embarrassing situations. Like I had a whole situation with somebody where they'd started touching me in a nice way. Like, I made that sound so fucking weird. We were watching films with friends and we were sharing a blanket and they'd been like stroking my leg and things had like progressed a little bit, and I'd gone back to theirs and we were making out, and I had this sudden realisation of like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I'm not actually like, I've enjoyed the validation of this person that I think is attracted to me, but I don't actually think that I'm attracted to them. I'm aware that they're attractive, but I don't think I'm attracted to them. And I actually don't want them to be touching me. I don't want to be kissing them. I need to leave like fucking now. And like, I'd gone along with it all, you know, like I'd not even gone along, I'd initiated parts of it because it felt like the right thing to do in the moment. And like, obviously it was massively fawning and just, I'm reluctant to even call it fawning because they weren't being like full on, like they were doing it extremely fucking nicely. Like I very much had the chance to just move my leg and be like, nah, I'm shutting that down, and then nothing would have progressed, you know. But I not only went with it, but initiated it because I just did not have a fucking clue how I felt beyond like, I'm not against it, until the moment that I absolutely was and was like, oh shit, sorry, I need to leave. And it was so embarrassing. And like, they dealt with it in a really beautiful way. Like I could not have asked more of the person that I had that situation with, but it was still like just fucking embarrassing to be me and felt so childish and so immature. And it like, this was literally like 2 years ago, and I'm only just being able to talk about it without like shutting down and just cringing and just feeling so fucking awful and childish and just traumatized by it to a point. Like it's not at all the other person's fault. They didn't personally traumatize me, but putting myself in these situations where like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and then all of a sudden I realize that I really don't want it, and like it's an absolute head fuck, and it's definitely a massive lack of self-awareness, you know? But because I can intellectualize it and explain it, no one takes it fucking seriously, and I'm expected to just like wisen up. You're an adult now, and like I don't feel like I can. I do feel like that's an autistic trait, and I don't know what the fuck I'm meant to do about it. Like I end up in these situations where I'm just going along with things because I don't really know what else to do, or what I like. That's the thing, I don't really have any feelings towards or against it, so I just go with it, you know? And especially like with my last relationship, there were a lot of times when we'd be having an argument or something, I'd be like, I'm gonna take a little while away to like process this and to like consider how I feel about it and what I want to say, and like I'm gonna just take an hour and then get back to you, which I think is like the fair and adult thing to do. But I would spend that entire time like thinking on it and reflecting on it and trying to figure out how I feel and talking to friends about it, and I would come to fucking nothing. Like it takes me a lot longer than an hour to process stuff, but you also can't tell the person you're in a relationship with like, give me a month, like we need to just not address it for a month and then I'll know how I feel about it. Like that's not fair on anybody, that's not okay. But also that's the amount of time that I need to like realise how I fucking feel about things and to be aware of how I feel and what I want, and like to feel like I've processed the situation, to have any awareness of what's going on. It's incredibly fucking difficult, and it means that I feel like I'm always making the wrong choice for myself. I feel like I'm always going to be like unhappy and just constantly put myself into the wrong situations because I very simply don't know how I feel about it until it's fucking happening. Yeah, I've just sat here in silence for a while because I thought I was going to have more to say, but I don't, so I'm going to end it there. That's what I've had to say for this. I know it's a little bit of a ramble because I feel like there's a lot of things that go into being self-aware, and I wanted to address the various things that I've been thinking about lately. So there you go. Like it's a ramble, but it's a fairly organised ramble, I hope. I'd love to know what you think anyway in the comments, any experiences you've had similar things, just whatever this video has prompted you to think about. I'm so done with talking, my words are done. So you can follow me here, like and subscribe if you want to, that'd be really cool. I felt silly doing that. You can also find me over on Instagram or TikTok, and you can also find me over on Ko-fi or Patreon if you wanted to. You don't have to, it's all fine. Updates about Otis as well. He does apparently definitely have a heart murmur, but the last vet made it sound like I needed to get my heart scanned like ASAP or he's going to die, and this vet was like, you can leave it until after you've moved, you'll be fine. Lots of cats have heart murmurs, and his skin issues are just stress apparently. So like I've already got him a whole bunch of like calming things. I don't really know what else I'm supposed to do. I guess I just have to try and live with it until we move and he's more settled and less stressed. I feel really awful about it, but that's where we are. I'm gonna buy another Fellaway, I think, and have more of that around the house. I don't know. I'm trying my best and he's stressed and I feel awful about it. So that's the end of the video. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.